Good morning. My name is Brooke Porter-Coles with the Department of Workforce Services, and we are ready to begin this morning's press briefing. We are going to start this morning, as usual, with our Thursday morning Unemployment Insurance Claims Report. Kevin Burt, our Unemployment Insurance Division Director, will be doing that report, and he will be reporting on the week of June 28th through July 4th. Directly following Kevin, Nate McDonald, the Department of Workforce Services Communications Director, will be making a brief statement about Utah's approval to participate in the pandemic EBT program for school-age children who are eligible for free or reduced meals. Following that, he will take questions on that topic as well. If individuals from the media have questions for either Kevin or Nate, they can text me or email me those questions as outlined in the press release. Kevin?
Thank you and good morning. Now we made a few changes to our press release, so I want to make sure that everyone understands the data because we broke it out into the various programs that include the state unemployment insurance as well as the new programs with the CARES Act. Similar to what we have always done, we still have the table there to show what's the trend of the unemployment claims for just the state benefit. For the week ending July 4th, we saw 4,850 claims. That was down about 3%. And remember, the continued claims is an important measure. Unemployment insurance, you apply, and then every week you do a continued claim or an ongoing claim, attesting to what happened the week before, and that is an attestation that you still need the benefit. So the number of individuals that are filing continued claims are a good indicator of how many people are still unemployed or have still seen their hours reduced. And that was 81,545 for the state benefit. That one was down about 3%. And then in total, we paid out $22 million last week with an additional $43.5 million in the $600 stimulus. Now, what we did is we took that same information and now we broke it out for the pandemic unemployment assistance. Remember, the pandemic unemployment assistance is a temporary, fully federally funded unemployment program for those that are not eligible for the state unemployment benefit, primarily those that are self-employed or gig workers. Now, we have not broken it out to this much detail in the past, so we just want to make sure that everyone understands the cumulative totals when you're evaluating whether we've seen an increase or decrease in claims. We just thought it would be better to have data for all the programs, so we didn't want to treat the other programs like chopped liver. So the pandemic unemployment assistance for the week ending July 4th ended with about 1,500 claims. That was down about 10%. We also have the continued claims for the pandemic unemployment assistance, and that was an additional 9,000. So if you're looking at total number of people that are filing for continued claims, you need to add the continued claims for the state benefit as well as the continued claims for the pandemic unemployment assistance. The positive news is both of those numbers went down. And then the last breakout we have is the pandemic extended unemployment compensation. This is also a CARES Act program. It is temporary, it is fully federally funded, and what it does is an individual that's on a state benefit is only eligible for a certain amount of weeks. The pandemic extended benefits extend that for 13 additional weeks, and again is fully federally funded. So an individual that is receiving the state benefit will receive some state funds, but as they transition into the extended benefit, those will be fully federally funded. We saw about 900 individuals apply for the pandemic extended unemployment compensation, which is an increase of about 6.2%. We do expect the 13-week extension to be increasing over time as people transition from the state benefit, exhaust that, and move into the 13-week extension. It is important to know in the state of Utah, there is not an additional application for the 13-week extension. If you are on a state benefit and you exhaust that benefit, you will seamlessly transition into that 13-week extension. So cumulative applications or new claims was 7,249. That is higher than what we have reported in the past with these because we're including every application type. So it is important to be able to keep track and understand the difference there. So cumulatively, over the last this pandemic, we saw an increase in our claims. Now it's been 16 weeks. And what we've seen so far is 241,000 claims for unemployment benefits. That is 4 years of claims that we've received in the last 16 weeks or less than 4 months. We've also paid out total, cumulatively, $985 million in unemployment benefits over that 16-week period. That is 5 years of benefits, or more than 5 years of benefits, as over the last 5 years we paid out $824 million. And just to have a little bit of context, over the last year, in calendar year 2019, we paid out $150 million in benefits. So this year we paid out $985 million. And you can see the breakout between the state benefit of about 200,000 claims, the PUA about 36,000 claims, and the PEUC, or the extended benefits, is 5,711 claims. As always, we still want to continue to track how many people are falling off the benefit, and that number was 5,184. What that number is looking at, again, is that an individual received a benefit or was on the benefit, has not lost that benefit for any reason of ineligibility. They just have stopped filing for 2 consecutive weeks. And that number is 5,184. Trying to get a more real time of how many people are no longer needing the benefit, with the assumption that many of them are returning to work. The other thing that we did is we added some graphs to our press release, because we wanted to be able to kind of show how things are going and be able to provide some perspective to the timeline. And what you can see is that this pandemic certainly hit unemployment insurance, because it hit so many people who were unemployed because we paused the economy, and overnight individuals who were employed were now unemployed. While many were temporarily furloughed, they immediately needed some kind of an assistance. And you can see the first 3 weeks of the pandemic shot up from 20,000 to 29,000 to 33,000 claims for benefits. And that one was, it was immediate. Over in a 3-week period, we received more work than we had received the previous year, or almost 2 years. And you can see over the last several weeks, it has started to decline. And that was a promising thing, that number was decreasing as many people received the benefit and the furloughs were starting to subside. However, over the last 6 weeks, it has really plateaued. As the graph shows, we're seeing about a little over 7,000 claims every week for the last 6 weeks. Now, that is much lower than the peak that claims we received on April 4th of 33,000, but it is still 6 times higher than the average number of weekly claims we took in 2019. So again, that is certainly trending incredibly high after being in this pandemic for this long. The other thing there, again, is the continued claims. Remember, a continued claim, unemployment is a week-to-week. So you file your initial claim, and then every week you do an attestation to what your current employment situation is. So the continued claim is necessary for an individual to continue to receive the benefit from week to week to week. And what you've seen is you have that initial claim spike, and shortly thereafter, the continued claims also spiked. And then on May 2nd, we saw the spike peak at 126,000. That continued claim number has gone down now for 9 consecutive weeks. And cumulatively, it's actually gone down 35,000. As last week, we had about 90,500 people file continued claims across all unemployment insurance programs. And so that's a promising number. However, it is still 81,000 more individuals applying for benefit than the average in 2019. So about 9 times higher than the average continued claims taken every week in 2019. And with that, I do want to explain, so why are we seeing some of this continued claim volume? And it's clear that we're not done with this pandemic. We've seen the COVID-19 increases. We've seen a lot of individual or companies maybe got a loan, but maybe haven't been able to maintain that. Or some industries tried to continue, but have still struggled and had to continue to lay people off. But what we don't know is the staying power of the $600 weekly stimulus benefit. The CARES Act introduced a new stimulus benefit to anyone that was on unemployment. Unemployment insurance was never a full replacement wage. It was always intended to be a partial replacement wage. And in Utah, it's about 40% replacement wage, meaning if you lose your job, unemployment insurance has historically been that you would get 40% replacement wage. The CARES Act introduced a $600 stimulus. And why did it introduce that stimulus? The main thought behind it was that these individuals were furloughed, and it was stay home. We were trying to curb the COVID-19 spread and encouraging people to stay home. So a 40% replacement wage would not be sufficient. So the CARES Act introduced a $600 stimulus across all programs across the nation, fully federally funded, to replace almost everybody's full wage so that they could stay home. Now, that $600 stimulus is set to expire on July 25th for all unemployment insurance programs. Remember that the state unemployment benefit will continue. So individuals that are unemployed past July 25th can stay on unemployment insurance, but they will receive approximately a 40% replacement wage. Individuals that are self-employed and gig workers that were receiving the pandemic unemployment assistance, that temporary program is through the end of December, so individuals can stay on that. But again, that will return to a 40% replacement wage. And individuals that are on the 13-week extension, that program also is through the end of December of this year, will continue to be able to receive it, but that will return to a 40% replacement wage. The $600 stimulus is a separate program that is applied to all unemployment insurance benefits, but that is set to expire July 25th. Now, what that means for individuals is that July 25th is a Saturday. What becomes available on July 26th is an individual can now file their continued claim, reporting what work occurred from July 19th through July 25th. So on July 26th, when you do your continued claim, you're going to report what happened the previous week. If you are eligible during that continued claim, that week of July 26th is the last week that we will pay out the $600 stimulus benefit. And then beginning that following week, there will no longer be that $600 stimulus benefit. Why that matters is that is only a few weeks away. And what these numbers are showing is that we have over 90,000 people that are still claiming unemployment benefits, meaning they are either unemployed, continue to be unemployed, or have seen significant reduction in hours and are still needing the unemployment benefit. Those individuals are going to see a 60% reduction in their benefit after that week of July 25th. There are jobs today. While we have seen 35,000 people fall off the benefit, there are individuals, I believe, that are hopeful to return to the industry that they were working. But it may be that in the next 3 weeks, maybe even in the next 3 months, these industries will not see that economic activity return as hoped, and that consumer confidence will not return as hoped. However, in this pandemic, we are seeing significant gains in other industries where there are a lot more job opportunities in a different industry than people are used to working in or trained to work in. And we encourage people to seek those opportunities now. If you apply for jobs now, you will be in a better place rather than waiting until these 90,000 individuals see a 60% reduction in their unemployment benefit. Unemployment was never intended to be a stable program. It is always a temporary program to provide some stability, limit stability, until a person is able to re-engage back into the workforce. So please take a look at jobs available now so that you can find stability in employment that is not going to be found in unemployment after that $600 stimulus goes away. This message is also for employers. If you are an employer that has furloughed your employee and are waiting to bring them back because you would like to retain those talented employees, remember the stability that your employees are having in unemployment will end for them on July 25th, giving them pressure to go find work elsewhere. So if you are an employer that has the opportunity and the economic activity to bring people back, now is the time to bring back your talented employees, or you may lose them. So for both employers and for employees, we only have a few more weeks of that $600 stimulus, and unemployment will return to what it has normally been historically. And with that, we'll go ahead and see if there are any questions. Okay, so the question is, when is the last time that people will receive the $600 benefit when they apply? So it is important to recognize the difference between a continued claim and a new claim. So remember, what I said is that the week of beginning on July 26th, which is a Sunday, the continued claim is available for those that were on the benefit to state what happened the week prior to July 26th. So it's an attestation that here's how much I made, here are my wages, I did not work, I did not refuse work. It's a simple process of 5 questions to file your continued claim. If on July 26th you are determined to be eligible for the week of July 19th through July 25th, that is the final time claimants will receive that $600. If an individual files a new claim, they are newly unemployed after July 25th, they will not be eligible for a $600 stimulus payment. Remember, the benefit ends July 25th. Why some individuals will be receiving it from July 26th, that final week, is because it's paying for the week that expired. Anyone that applies after July 25th will not be eligible for the $600 moving forward. So that is important for employers to know and employees to know. Again, that $600 is very fast approaching, as we are a few weeks away from it expiring. Please, there are job opportunities. There are some industries that are doing very well, that have created a safe environment for their employees. As an employee that is receiving the benefit, if you have been on unemployment for several months and you are hoping to be able to return to the employer that you worked for, but have not yet been able to do so, it is a good time to kind of evaluate and see if that opportunity is really going to come to fruition. I do not want to be a sad Sarah here, but I do believe there are some industries that are going to struggle beyond July 25th. Clearly, as this pandemic continues and we see these COVID-19 cases go up, those individuals will need or should consider strongly looking for other industries temporarily until those industries return, because they will find much more stability in employment and wages than they will in unemployment. And with that, I'm going to go ahead. There's no more questions, but we're going to go ahead and turn it over to the Communications Director, Nate McDonald, to talk about the pandemic EBT.
All right. The Department of Workforce Services is pleased to announce that the U.S. Department of Agriculture has approved Utah's application for the Pandemic EBT program. This is a program that was stood up just after the pandemic in mid to late March for students who were receiving free and reduced lunch. through their local school programs. This program was meant to create additional food assistance for those families that may need that additional benefit. The unique thing about this program is that it was something that was provided to states, and it was something that the state of Utah originally looked at very closely to see how we would be able to meet the eligibility criteria and the requirements that the Food and Nutrition Service Administration was requiring states follow. As we looked at those guidelines, we had to make some adjustments and work very closely with the Utah State Board of Education to be able to ensure that we had the proper data matching ability to be able to determine eligibility for students who were receiving free and reduced lunch. So as we've worked through that process, we worked closely with the Food and Nutrition Services, and as we've come to this point, we submitted our application and we have been approved. Over the next couple weeks, the Department of Workforce Services will be working closely with the school system to be able to put up and have the application process available towards the end of July. Once that process is up and the application is up, families whose students were receiving free and reduced lunch as of March 16th will be able to apply and receive this one-time payment. Now, those students were receiving SNAP benefits already will not need to apply. They will automatically get this one-time payment on their SNAP benefit card. This is something that we've been working closely with our school system, also with Utahns Against Hunger and other advocate groups, to be able to really identify the need and the opportunity that is out there for families who need additional food assistance. The school system, we've actually been very pleased with how our state Board of Education has worked closely with every school, that once the pandemic hit, after March 16th, the schools still provided both breakfast, lunch, and also weekend backpacks for students who were in need of food assistance. That continued. This is a benefit that is on top of that, and it is something that we believe will be a needed, will provide an additional support to these families who are in need of additional assistance. And so we're pleased that we're able to move forward with this program and have this up and going for these families. And with that, are there any questions? Yeah, so families that still receive the meal benefit once schools close down, and again, this is for people who are receiving that benefit, or once schools shut down from March 16th to May 29th. That is the period of time that this benefit is calculated from. But if they were receiving free and reduced lunch as of March 16th, they are eligible for this. Now, if they still received the breakfast and lunch that was provided by their local schools during that time period, they are still eligible to apply for this program. In addition, I want to point out that families who are also receiving SNAP, this is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, if their students or their children were receiving SNAP benefits as well, they will get this program. And again, I want to reiterate, they will not have to apply if they are on SNAP. They will automatically get this additional benefit. So Utah, one of the challenges anytime there's a federal program that is announced, and especially when it is a new program, the state has to work closely to be able to determine if they can meet the guidelines that the federal requirements are set for. The state of Utah, once the requirements were set forth, they started working directly with the State Board of Education to be able to determine how we would be able to match the data and be able to determine eligibility. And that was the important part. And Utah was not the only state that had the challenge of being able to match that information and determine that the state would be able to have access to this data to be able to determine eligibility. So over the last couple months, we've worked closely with the school system to be able to ensure that we are able to identify and determine eligibility for students who will be able to receive this additional benefit. Essentially what we did is, instead of applying for the program and then determine whether or not we would be able to implement it, we determined we will be able to implement the program, and then we applied. And so we have not turned away any money. We will still get the same available money that is for each of these families and these students as if we applied on day one. We just needed to make sure we were able to meet the requirements and the guidelines set forth by the Food and Nutrition Services. Thank you. So right now, the Department of Workforce Services is working to set up the application process. We anticipate that the application will be up by the end of July. So within the next couple weeks, we will have notices out that the application is up. And when it is up, any family member or any family who has students who are eligible, they are able to apply for this program. The amount that each student is eligible to receive is $308. And again, this is formulated based upon the days that school was not in session and students would not be able to go and get free lunch or reduced lunch from the period of March 16th to May 29th. So again, that application we anticipate will be up at the end of July. And once it is up, we will have more details about what the process in applying for that, and we will release that information to the public and to the media so that families will be fully informed of what they need to do. Thank you very much.